This is The Gift, Brian F., and you are watching the Three Count Podcast.
Do you wanna get live with me? Do you really wanna ride with me? I'm in the club, baby, grind on me.
Welcome everyone to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and now I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And by now, with this being season 5 and our 300 and something episode, I would just hope you say it with me. I am your Sherpa, because like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficient than you can. That's why I said about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering the ring? This man is a creator. He is a genie. He's the one that makes you look so good, makes you want to slap your mama. He is the gift, Brian F.
Hello, how are you?
What's up? I'm so
So,
happy to actually get to chat it up with you. I mean, we've been trading messages and well, one, trying to get this accomplished, but two, just throwing you all the love, with the community and the things that you're doing in the wrestling community. So I'm super excited to get to share your praises on video finally.
love it.
So let me ask you, man, what made you want to start? So for those who don't know who you are, I want to sing your praises real quick. You are the man that's in charge, let's put it out there, of a few great things, right? So the collages for Black history, for women's, Asia Pacific, uh the LGBTQ community, um Hispanic heritage. I don't know why it took me so long to think that one. And recently, well, last year, the military, which I was very, very honored and grateful that you were able to do. And then for all those who don't know, you are actually the creator of the Hispanic Latino Wrestlers 500 list as well.
I am.
So talk to me about what made you one start creating all of the posters that you've been creating, and then what drew you into the business.
So, I had experience with graphic design. I loved wrestling, so the pandemic gave me a lot of time to get back into creating, get back to drawing, and uh, I wanted to do something for Black History Month where I draw a portrait of a Black wrestler each day in the month of February. So, I tried doing that. It caught up with me, and I wasn't able to finish, so I only got through like a week, and that was about it. So I was like, I have to make this right. So around came June, and it was Pride Month. It was also Juneteenth during that month. So I was like, maybe I should do something different. So that's where the collages came into play.
I love the collages because it's the things that I get to look forward to, not just because of like the celebration of the month, right? But also because I get to see my friends on there and I see them all pop when they see all your photos and stuff that you do in the way you put them all together. It's been very cool to see your artistic view on things, and then even when you make the graphic cards or the wrestling posters. Geez, bro, the help with the t-shirt game, you're helping people get their merch out there. You have all the merch ideas. It's so cool to watch you come up with new designs every single time. And I know that's got to be challenging, but it is amazing to watch you do what you do.
For sure.
What because you did the birthday ones too, right? You was
Yeah.
yeah. I'm just curious, what makes you want to give back to the wrestling community though?
You know, it's all about supporting, those that support you, you support them back. And that birthday post was just a little thank you, or I appreciate you for all the support that you've given to me. So, there are a lot of wrestlers that I have yet to meet or even see live. So to give them that I want them to know that I appreciate them.
So what are your, because I've seen that you've sponsored certain matches, and I've seen that you've actually gone to a lot of the indie shows, not just in the tri-state area, but also into Florida, right? Like down south. I think I saw that you
Yeah.
were in a couple promotions, just helping out with them. Um, so I see that you're like dabbing in. Like, are you training? Are you like looking to get in the ring? Like, what's the move? What's next?
Uh, as an in-ring performer, that's definitely off the table right now, but any way I can, whether that's ring announcing or backstage correspondent, maybe even commentary, that's something that I'm looking to get into a little bit more in the future.
Who are well, let's go down the list. Like, who are some of your interviewers and commentators?
Right now, definitely Shane Fair is, like, the biggest inspiration for me. I don't think I've ever told him this, but, he's definitely someone I look up to in this business. He's booked and busy everywhere, and, just to have him as a model, uh, means a lot. So I definitely look up to him and all of his work for the inspiration.
Um, so let's just get to the commentary side of things. I just want to know, like, who's some of the commentators that you look up to?
Definitely the guys over at AEW, Excalibur, Taz, JR, Tony Schiavone, those guys, they offer so much knowledge and so much, perspective on each match, and they add their own little creative flavor, and that's something I admire, definitely.
So it's funny. I was in when I was living in Maryland. I was in Baltimore at the Celeb Fest, and Tony Schiavone was there, and I had my daughter with me, and I introduced her to Tony Schiavone, and I was like, "Hey, you remember how we watched that show AEW?" And she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, this is Tony Schiavone. He's one of the lead commentators." Fun fact: when I got into watching wrestling in your age, he was my voice of the childhood, and now here we are getting to have a conversation with him. I was like, "And I'm just completely honored to meet you." And he was like, "I appreciate that so much." He's like, and I told we talked for a little bit. He shared a little bit of knowledge with me, and then he was like, "Best of luck to you, son." And I was like, "He called me son. That's my dad. That's my dad." So I was so hyped meeting Tony Schiavone. So that's my two story on it. Someone out there is gonna be like, "Oh, word." I'm like, yeah, I marked out for Tony Schiavone. I don't care. Uh, but no, it's cool to see that you have been influenced in the wrestling. What got you in? Like, what made you want to get in and start watching wrestling?
My 2 older brothers, they were big wrestling fans back in the day, so, every little kid is always curious, so when it was on the TV, I would watch, and I was just so glued to it. I was like, "Maybe I wanna do that one day." But as I got older, I saw there was different ways to be in the business, not just being a wrestler, so, guys like Bryan Danielson, uh, Ezekiel Jackson, John Cena, Randy Orton, those are the guys that I definitely grew up with and definitely caught my attention.
Ezekiel Jackson is one of those guys who, like, I don't understand like where the miss was. Like, the dude had everything, the look, he could talk, like he was, you know, sometimes he was clumsy in a ring, but that's okay because he's still relatively
Yeah,
new to the business. But he was such a great talent, and then like him, he was with the core for a bit, which was a wild thing to be a part of, like to watch the core
yeah,
versus the oh man. But no, I remember like Zeke being in. I think he had came back and did like a short run at NXT for a little bit,
yeah,
and then like eventually he just got released. And I was like, man, I was like, the dude was amazing and super athletic for as big as he was.
for sure. When I found out he was, Guyanese, because 'cause I'm also Guyanese, uh, that made me resonate with him a little bit more because there's someone that's like me that's on television. I'm like, maybe one day I could do the same. So it's definitely role model for sure.
I mean, and like you said, as far as being an in ring performer, right now it's out the table. But who knows? You could be a manager, and hey, you could be the next Paul Heyman, just in there just cutting promos and tearing people down and building them back up. I was just talking about it earlier today. I was talking with some friends about how I feel that you know obviously Bobby Brain Heenan will always be considered like one of the best like managers like ever. And people are gonna be like, one, like, because yeah, Paul Heyman is here, and I think Paul Heyman is the GOAT. And that's my GOAT. It don't have to be yours. But another person I told people, I was like, yo, but if you weren't paying attention to, like Roddy Piper when he was like cutting promos and stuff like that, like the way he was able to display emotions, I was like, these are the three best talkers like in our industry. And I know all other people are gonna out there say it's not true, but yeah, those Bobby the Brain Heenan and Paul Heyman to me were just like the greatest of the greats when it comes to like being managers.
100%.
So let me ask you one other quick question, and we can hop into it. Where do you get your inspiration from, as far as like wrestling goes, and creating the content you create?
Honestly, something I still question myself, but to do all of these graphics, firstly, it more depends on who you are as a character, like, your gimmick and stuff. Like, I try as best to match each graphic that I make for, whether it's booking, the resume, I try as best to match who you are as a person. So, like, sometimes it can be corresponding to their gear, or sometimes I can just, look at the picture and be like, okay, maybe this person looks like they like this color, or maybe this person likes that color or this style. So that's one thing I always consider when I make these graphics.
I like it too because I know I've seen a ton of them, and a ton of my friends too that have been on, from Pure Ignorance to O'Shea Edwards. I think I've seen, well, just myself as well, and I've seen some of the other females that you've done too. And every time I see them, I just get blown away because I'm like, wow, like the ability to pull this and make it into to where it is, and just how bright they come out, and like you capture like an essence of people's like characters, like you said, like just their essence of who they are, what they want to do, and you take it to another level. I know every time I ask you, I get giddy because I'm like, I cannot wait to see what comes back, and just every time, like you've knocked it out of the park every single time, and I keep trying to tell people like, yo, go to Brian. He's gonna take care of everything that you gotta do. Just tell him the direction you're trying to go in, and he's gonna take it the rest of the way.
I appreciate that, man.
Of course, of course. But listen, um, really quick, I'm gonna have you run down my favorite segment of the 3 Count Podcast, which is the 3 Count Podcast 10 count questions. And this is how it works. I'm gonna ask you 10 questions, rapid fast, and whatever your answer is, that is your answer. So we're gonna put the imaginary timer on for added pressure. Bing. And in the words of my favorite commentator, Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite actor/actress?
Chris Evans.
Waffles or pancakes?
Waffles.
Favorite cartoon?
SpongeBob.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Favorite movie?
Avengers Infinity War.
I like it. Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
See, now that I asked that question, like it doesn't make no sense. Favorite podcast?
Chris Van Vliet.
Yep. Also been a guest on this show too. You guys can find that episode. Nominate one person you want to see on this podcast.
Jarrett Diaz.
Yes. Jared is a great friend of mine, and I definitely want to bring him on for another round. Last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this show: favorite curse word?
The F word.
This okay. This is a curse
Yeah.
welcomed zone. So yeah, fuck is a great word to use, and I thoroughly enjoy that word. But listen, man, those are all my questions I do have for you. But the one thing I will ask you to do is let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook, X, and Instagram at Brian F Pro. So same profile picture, same at, everything. Made it easy for you.
Yeah, it definitely it's definitely easy to find. Well, listen, you see him right there. He gave you all of his handles, so you know what that means. Like every great part of a wrestling match, we gotta take this home. Because this is the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And like I said, it's never about me, it's about who's entering. So who's entering now? You see them right there. The gift, Brian F. himself. And you guys know what that means. Tune into the next episode and be there. Or you're literally following us on all of our social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, both of them. You're checking us out on Amazon Music. You're even listening to us on Spotify. You're even checking us out on that dumb app with the dumb jingle that goes iHeartRadio or whatever it is. You're checking us out also on foryourwear.com or even on prowrestlingtees.com. You're telling your mom about us, your dad about us, your aunties, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your best friends, and your enemies because we love haters too. You know that stuff, but really, you're just going to wait for this episode to end, waiting for the outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Kawaii. What's going on? It is Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And what we need from you guys is to kind of show us some support, right? We want you guys to go to our YouTube channel at the 3 Count Podcast, go on to our Twitch channel, 3 Count Pod, or even our Facebook page, 3 Count Podcast, and just give us a like, follow, subscribe, even give us a comment, right? Do all that cool stuff. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your enemies, right? Or you can even come talk to us and just chat us up, right? Find us on Twitter at 3count_pod. Find us on IG and on TikTok at 3 Count Pod. Go ahead and leave us those comments. We want to hear from all of you guys. We're going to keep putting on videos and stuff like that. We want to keep making this content better, so we want your guys' support. Also, if you guys want to, go support us at prowrestlingtees.com/the 3 Count Podcast, or even find us on foryourwear.com. Give us the support. Show us your guys' love because we want to give it right back to y'all. So, in the meantime, love y'all.